What's up, y'all? It's your girl Rhonda. Let's get into this next episode of P Valley Season 2, Episode 7. It was good, y'all. But before we do that, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. So, P Valley, the show opens with Granny. She's on stage singing. It's a montage of all her decades of performing. 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm gonna knock on your door, rap on your window. Hey. Yeah. She was looking cute and everything. Clifford is running around the club with his mother. And this is all Granny's moment. So then she opens her eyes and the club is empty and she's back into her reality, her right now. Or so she thinks. So Granny sees herself in the empty club talking to this woman in this white dress, kind of like floating through the room, and kind of find out it's her daughter. Her daughter's, she got a drink in her hand. And she's like, come on, it's time. And Granny's like, it's not time yet. And another allude to death. It's a death theme going on throughout this whole season. But Granny said, no, not now. And I don't know if I shared this before, but I took care of my mother, and as she got closer to her end, she did do that a lot. It was a lot of dead people's names coming up in her, in her thoughts. But anyway, so now Clifford is a pig. Clifford is like slowly dancing around the pole, in deep thought. I guess Clifford's thoughts are more about why the pink is so important to her. We've seen like his granny used to perform there, and Clifford was there from like a child, in this place that means so much to her. Autumn walks in and kind of, brings Clifford back around to reality. When Clifford tries to explain to her, like, this is where, her history, her grandparents, her parents before them, this is, her family lineage is here, right here in this plot of land. And that's why it's so important to her. And, Autumn explains that the money that she used to save the place was important to her too. So, they both have their reasons. There's no reason for Autumn to be that attached to the pink because, her history is not there. I feel like Clifford is being a little bit unrealistic and should just figure out a way to take some of those memories from that space into a new space, make the pink and, pictures, all of that. I'm sure you can gather enough history of the pink. The pictures, say a lot. They draw a lot of emotion. So I feel like there's a way for Clifford to have both. She just hasn't, she's not ready to let go yet. Autumn lets her know that the people offer her $5 million. And Clifford was looking like, what? And she was like, but I didn't take it. And Clifford is like, bitch, what? I mean, good. So Autumn knows that land is worth 10 million, and that's what she gonna try to get. She gonna get as close to 10 million, if not the 10 that she, she knows it's worth. They gonna make money anyway. It's a casino. They gonna make their money, but she's gonna get as much as she could possibly get out the situation. And Clifford gets a percentage of that. I think it's 33% of whatever, she gets from selling the land. So everybody wins. Clifford just needs to have it doesn't happen overnight. Clifford needs to accept that this is a part of her history that's time to let go of. It ain't never going nowhere. I mean, not for nothing. You can look at it like the casino is on, the land that my family had for so many years. So, we'll see what happens when it comes down to this money. I hope they get the money. I hope it ain't no trickery and foolery going on, because there's a lot of shadiness in the politics and the homogenized folks in the area. Shout out to Jan. So Tarika has been staying with Mercedes. I guess Shell is over there drunk and don't give a daggone. So ever since we, found out that Tarika's pregnant, she's been staying with Mercedes, and her belly has started to grow quite a bit. Like Tarika has been pregnant for a while. Like I'm guessing when she peed on the stick, I don't know what it was to confirm because she know what it is. There's a whole bump there. Mercedes wants to know what she gonna do, and Tarika is not prepared to answer that question. She's a bit, she's in love with this little boy, and they're like having fantasies of whatever fantasies children in love have. They don't know nothing about real life because somebody's taking care of them. And it's because they're 14. Whew, Lord, 14. Anyway, Tarika's like, I don't know, maybe we could paint the room. No, honey, we're not talking about painting the room. We're like talking about what are you gonna do about this baby? And Tarika's not ready to talk about that yet, but she does have a craving of some TCBY with cookies, Oreo cookies, and hot sauce on top. I've never tried ice cream with hot sauce on top. I feel like it shouldn't be a thing. Have y'all ever tried that? I don't know if I want to try something like that. Like I get the whole mixing up heated things and sweet things and all of that, but child. Anyway, back at Clifford house, Murder is laying on the couch, thinking about, well, he's actually sitting on the couch thinking about what happened with T. And he's like flicking a lighter and having a flashback of all of that had transpired in the last, I don't know how many days he's been there, but it's been a few days. And he had to check all the way out. And being there with Granny and Clifford is somehow healing for him, I feel like. So while he's in the middle of his moment, Granny started coughing and kind of shook him out of it. And he went running upstairs to see like what happened, what's going on with Granny. So she's okay. He did what he was supposed to do, check her blood sugar and all of that. She's an old person with COVID, so we all know like what those stories were like in the heat of things, in the beginning of COVID time. But and child looked like now we finna be running rampant with these daggone monkeypox. What the hell now? This is concerning. I'm just saying. Do they have a vaccine for that? They have to have a vaccine for that. Monkeypox isn't new, is it? Like this is something that we shouldn't have to be trying to find a vaccine for. There should be one already. You know what I'm saying? Whew. Ain't nobody trying to do that. Y'all better sit down somewhere. Everybody sit down somewhere. Whew. Anyway, Granny's up there coughing, and he went up there to check on her, and he brought her something to eat, and he was like, here. She was like, I'm not eating that food Clifford cooks. So apparently Clifford is not a cook. She's very glamorous, but cooking is not her thing. And I would imagine with them fingernails and things, it should be kind of, I don't know how people cook without them daggone nails. Anyway, that's another subject. So Murder puts the plate in front of her, and she's like sniffing it and taking it all in, and she's like, ooh, pork chops and candy yams and collard greens and cornbread. And Murder is like, ain't nothing happened with your sense of smell, that's for sure. Yeah, she said he throw down in the kitchen, that Murder do. And she like, you keep cooking like this, you're gonna have a big bitch stuck. And he like, oh, come on now, Granny. And she said, I ain't the bitch, I'm not talking about me. You know what it is. And if Clifford can't cook, child, I guess having somebody around the can is another bonus. Winning. Granny told Murder she smelled death on him the night that he came there. She said, I smelled it on you. And she did, because it was all over him, all over his clothes, all over his spirit. He would be, yeah. She hit that one on the head. It was almost a mutual thing because we saw then that Granny had something else going on that we were still not prepared to be dealing with. I'm just holding on hope that Granny's coming home because I know, I'm just holding on hope. Anyway, Keyshawn and Derek down at the local drugstore, and he's trying to make friends with her over some moon pies and tater chips. You want moon pies? Can I get you tater chips? No. She's got a mask up to her hairline, covering up the bruises that you put on her face. No, she does not want moon pies. So while she's standing there talking to Derek, she sees Autumn at the end of the aisle, and she tells him that she needs to go get some makeup to cover up, oh, I don't know, the bruise where you punched me in my face. So, that makes him be like, oh, yeah, let me get out of here because we don't want to talk about that. We want to forget that happened. So when she got over to the makeup aisle, of course, Autumn found her over there and was like, I see you didn't use the gun I gave you. So we all were like, why doesn't she go get help? So apparently she did reach out to Autumn at least, and Autumn gave her a gun, but what? That's a great idea to shoot my white baby daddy up, blow his head off in the middle of the day at the house, and I'm not gonna be, yeah, that's not gonna work. We need a different plan than that one. So she basically tells her, I couldn't do that because I got kids, and she's trying to explain to Autumn all the reasons why she was not going to be able to, expose of her baby father. And Autumn is like, well, there are other ways to leave someone. So, before they could get any further into that conversation, Derek is now somewhere in the store screaming Keyshawn's name at the top of his lungs. Of course, she has to scurry off and go. He's got a crying baby over here and a daddy who might blow his stack at any second. And it ain't gonna be good when that happens. So, whew, girl, I just want Keyshawn out of that situation. It's just terrible. It just feels like she's been having it hard for a long time, and it's time for her to get a breath. I can't wait for her and Diamond to get together. Please let that be a thing, because Big Bone or whatever her name is not the ticket. Anyway, Clifford comes home. He's screaming out Granny's name. Granny, little homicide. He didn't hear them. They didn't answer because they're up there, Granny resting and murder, looking out for her. But so Clifford starts freaking out, running through all these rooms. I don't know what he thought was going on, but I guess he thought murder just left his granny there left her granny there by herself. But that wasn't the case. They were up there chilling, and he sees that murder, little homicide, is someone that can be trusted with his granny. He cares for granny. So now Clifford's sitting down to eat that great meal that murder threw down on, and Clifford is smacking and chopping, and she know her food ain't ain't the ticket, so she is tearing it up and not even embarrassed about it. And so they start discussing the conversation that her and Autumn had over at the club, and how much money they offered, and right quick fast little calculator came up with Clifford's percentage, and I think a little bit the seed is planted that you can't always hold on to some of that stuff. You just have to decide which thing you want. For murder, he claimed that the money ain't always the thing for him, but it's something. Maybe it's the fame then, because your music is about money. You usually choose the money over love, That's what you said. Anyway, Clifford asked Murder, how you doing? And Murder said, I'm cool. He a thug, so he can't show that he's actually freaking out. It's a lot though. So I would say, based on the relationship that Murder and Clifford have, and the relationship that Murder and Teak had, it's an uncomfortable conversation to have just on that alone. And then, for this guy to have killed himself and all of this stuff that went along with that, I'm sure he hasn't processed it yet. So yeah, he's not ready to talk about it. So we back down the Mercedes car. They driving down the road because this child wants ice cream and hot sauce, and she in the car singing WAP loud and dancing, and Mercedes is like, I know you lying, child. In the condition you in, you have no business talk about somebody's pullout game. And she said something like, the next time you find yourself in a situation, you need to hit me up about that plan B. And the little girl was like, well, now we're gonna have the sex talk. And she was like, we did have the sex talk. And Tarika was like, all you said was stay away from nappy headed niggas and just want one thing. Yeah, that's good advice. I mean, there's more to the story, but that's the bottom line. Terica doesn't even know how far along she is. When you think about 14 years old, she's probably been playing PlayStation or Xbox or whatever thing she got at her house and like thinking that, I don't know, that she has all the time in the world to handle this situation, and being time sensitive is not something that she's aware of. So maybe, saying stay away from nappy headed boys or just one thing probably could have gave her a little more information. That's not to say that it wouldn't still have happened, because it happens all the time with girls who, child, you have the internet, you know what it is. You was just had the freedom to be wilding out because the person that is supposed to be your guardian is so under the influence that she doesn't wake up for days at a time, so you can do what the hell you want to do, even with access to the car. So, it's no shock that this happened. Puppy love is, ooh, that's the strongest kind. People be like, you don't know nothing about love, you just don't know. Yeah, that's the one that gets you the worst though. So they drive past the TCBY. The girl's like, where are we going? And Mercedes says, we're going to Jackson. She was like, we're going all the way to Jackson for TCBY? No, child. So she realizes why they're going to Jackson. And apparently that's where the folks go to, handle the business. And she starts freaking out, pull over, pull over. So she pulls over so this kid can throw up. And she tells Mercedes she feels ambushed, and Mercedes is like, I'm not trying to ambush you. We're just going for a consultation. And I would say, Mercedes handled this, like, I think in the best way possible. You're her biological mother. She has this desire to have a relationship with you. You haven't been in that role her whole life because of all the circumstances that went along with that. But in this time where she needs someone, it's a blessing that Mercedes is there for her, that she could be there to help her navigate through this situation that nobody wants to be in. And based on what has happened just recently with Roe versus Wade, and the fact that they're in where they at, Mississippi, chances are I ain't looking good for for those type of situations. I'm just saying, I feel like Mississippi is definitely gonna put the kibosh on the termination situation. Tarika said that someone told her that terminations cause cancer. Somebody's bald-headed mama that Mercedes has said dumb as hell. So, no, that's not the case. We back at Clifford's house now. Murder on the couch. He finds his phone like stuck in between the pillow cushions. His phone is blowing up because he's, not been in contact with the outside world. So Wardy's on the phone like, what the heck? What is going on? I've been trying to reach you. I've been calling you 1,000 times, and he's trying to get this whole tour thing back in order. He's like, well, I mean, who's gonna be our security now? And then they start discussing the situation with Teak. And Wardy works at the funeral home, and usually there's only 1 or 2 funeral homes that people go to in towns, in small towns like that. So he said nobody has even come to claim the body, which is really sad. Like, Teak went out of this world, left this world with no real family. Like, when you pass away, who handles these kinds of things? And the fact that you would end up somewhere as a John Doe who nobody even comes to, handle, it's sad. It's sad. And I'm sure that goes on way more than we ever think about, because we always think about the order of things, the circle of life, and who gonna, what kind of casket is we gonna put, Big Mama in, or however you do things. But anyway, Murder tells him to make sure like their affiliation is gonna handle everything, and Tika's not going on like out like that because they're gonna make sure he go out like a king. And again, like maybe Teak didn't realize like he had more of a family, he had more of a network of people who love him than he realized, but he was just too damaged to embrace that. So Murder goes up to Clifford's room. Clifford's up there knocking and bumping things around because Murder ain't got no clothes. He been wearing them whatever that was he had on that night, and that's terrible. So he's in Clifford's room and admiring her wardrobe because her wardrobe is something fierce. Feathers and anything that's glittery and over the top as you can find it because Clifford is a performer, and that's how she presents herself in this world. Murder like sat back on the bed and was like, so he actually he wasn't on the bed, he was walking around and saw the postcard that he sent. He was like, oh, you kept it, and asked her like which one was her favorite. She said the one where he said, I like the way you look in red, and so they're having a moment. And he asked her, have you always been like this? And she's like, been like what, nigga? Like um Clifford explains like I guess the best way she knows how to murder how she appears in this world as such a flamboyant, over the top energy, beyond whatever it is, that we see as Uncle Clifford. Uncle Clifford is still very much over the top, in every fashion. And I guess Clifford is asking Murder like, so what is it? What are you? You asking me? You don't even understand like what is making me feel like for you to ask me what have I always been like this? So like, have you always been like you? What are you? And Murder said, I'm what the world won't let me be. Which I get what he means, because as most folks describe someone that's gay, you think you always go to the ultra feminine, like you've only got this one idea of what people are. But Murder grew up in an environment that created him as a person. His sexuality has nothing to do with that, period, because he's all those other things. He's a rapper, he's a gangster, he's a thug. He a soft little thug, but it just because, and I don't mean soft as in punk, I mean like romantic and all of those. He's got that side. I mean, that's how thugs get you, girl. Just beware of that thugs with the soft side. Anyway, he is everything that he presents himself as. It's like it's not fake. Gang affiliated and all of that stuff. His sexuality just, happens to be a thing. And I guess, and he said that he always dealt with guys that were, that presented themselves the same way he does. So if it's just two niggas, then that's what it is. Nobody is thinking anything otherwise. His music is all about, stripping and booty and money and all the same stuff that other rappers are rapping about. So, it works for him in a way that he, but if you're gonna be in love with Uncle Clifford, you can't hide that, honey. Ain't no hiding Uncle Clifford, and Uncle Clifford ain't about to hide for you. So that's the bridge that they haven't crossed yet. But they did talk about how they left things, because he did kind of he fronted on Clifford, and Clifford had to set him straight. But Clifford also said like he understands why he did that, because the world ain't gonna accept him as just another man. They got all other kinds of judgments. So we back to Mercedes and Tarika. Mercedes takes pulls up to this diner. Like Jackson ain't. They said it's an hour, 2 hours away, but they didn't like had to stop and throw up and stop and now she got to pee. But that's what happens when you're pregnant. You always have to pee. So they stopped at this diner so she could go to the bathroom, and Mercedes has a flashback of being in a diner. I don't know if it's the diner that, you know, her mama actually worked in or just a diner that might reminded her of that. But they were sitting in a diner and her mama don't have enough money to pay for lunch. And there's some creepy old dude looking at Mercedes, and her mother's pretty much like, why don't you go do what you do, or, you know, whatever. I don't know, sending your daughter over there to a creepy ass man. And then Mercedes opens her wallet and already has money. She's like, no, this is what I'm gonna do, pay for it. Child, I had to pause. I don't know where the hell I was. I think I was talking about Mercedes and her trifling mama down to that diner. And Mercedes pulls out her wallet and, you know, to pay for the lunch. And her mother sees the condom. So she sees the condom and flips her lid and starts beating her. And it made no sense, none whatsoever. Like you was just trying to pep her out to some creepy old dude. But now you have an issue that she has a condom and a boyfriend. And you know, maybe she's jealous. I don't know. That's weird. But anyway, Tarika gets back in the car and, you know, she's talking about her boyfriend and how he's an artist and he wants to be a baby and he's going to get a part-time job and, you know, take care of them. And she's like, he's 14, he can't get a part-time job. Yeah, he can, down to, I don't know, Crystals or Checkers or somewhere. And interesting enough, I just said that I feel like Woodbine was jealous of Mercedes for whatever reason. And then no sooner than they pull off from that diner, Tarika then tells Mercedes she's just jealous. That, you know, the only reason why men want to be around her is because she on the pole. She's jealous that she's got somebody to actually love her. And about that time, she got slapped in the mouth because Mercedes was trying to hear that nonsense. Now you're doing too much. Now you're being disrespectful. I would never slap my child in the mouth, Tarika says. And Mercedes was like, yeah, that's what I thought too. So they get down to the clinic. Protesters everywhere. In the midst of the protesters, Mercedes sees like Patrice is just haunting her. She's everywhere. She's on the billboard. She's on the TV. She's at the, you know, the termination station. She's literally haunting Mercedes. So they get in the clinic, they find out that Tarika is 14 weeks and that she is very much needs to make a decision ASAP. Like now, we need to know now. The window is closing. And Tarika tells the lady, her friend said that you know, the termination causes cancer. And the lady say, who said that? Like in her Portia voice. So she explains to her, no, that's not the case, that the risks are the same, whether you terminate or whether you follow through. So she feels a little bit better now that she's heard it from someone other than Mercedes. Now a medical person has told her she won't get cancer. So, child, meanwhile, back over at Uncle Clifford's house, Granny ran off. They heard the door slam. Granny ran off down. She trying to get down by the riverside. We know what that means. That's just definitely how Granny run all the way down to the river. Is she blind? I guess you can hear the water or something. I don't know. She could feel it in the air. Anyway, Granny got down there, damn near to the river. And she hollering Beulah. Beulah is Uncle Clifford's mother. Murder, like, who is that? So we know that's not a good thing, you know, when folks start trying to get down by the riverside and screaming out to, you know, dead people. So she collapsed over there by the river in Clifford's arms, and she said if she can't get to the river, then bring the river to her. So Murder took her bonnet, I think, and went and dipped it in the water and, you know, squished the river water all over her. It was kind of like a baptismal kind of moment. But, you know, based on their demographic where they are, I think there's probably a lot of traditions like that. You know, the river I guess, it's of the earth. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. I don't want to, change the conversation too much. Anyway, back at the hotel, Mercedes and Tarika is sitting by the pool, and there's a lady down by the pool, all these daggone kids running around, and they're having a conversation about, like, do you know how hard it's gonna be to be a mother? And she was like, I'm gonna just leave him with my grandmother. So Mercedes thought she meant Patrice. And she was like, I told you don't mention her name. And Terica's like, no, I mean you, Granny. And Mercedes is like, I ain't never thought I was gonna be no grandmama at 30. Who child, who did think there was gonna be a grandmother at 30? That's like still like you just got grown your damn self. Anyway, you know, little Terica's trying to figure things out. At least she's had the consultation, and that's probably the best thing that she could have done, rather than sitting around acting like she got all the time in the world to figure it out, and her little boyfriend is gonna get a job down to the Walgreens taking care of her and her child. Anyway, time they get Granny back to the house, the ambulance come. Now it's dark. The ambulance come, and the ambulance is taking Granny away. And I cannot imagine watching my loved one go off to the hospital and never come back. And I haven't watched, don't know what's happening on the next episode, but I just, what a horrible thing to send somebody away in an ambulance and you can't go to the hospital to check on them or know anything. It's heartbreaking. So Murder tells Clifford to tell Granny goodbye, because it just might be that. Granny like, I don't want to go to no daggone hospital, but we know what it is. Back over here in Jackson, Tarika wants to know why Mercedes never fought for her. And she keeps explaining like she was 15, and I get that. As a 15-year-old, Mercedes was super manipulated by a grown man and his wife, apparently, that they, and her mother, she said, didn't give her the option. Like, she didn't have the option to terminate. Which she said, obviously, you're here and I love you, and I just definitely wouldn't, take that back. But she didn't have any options. Her mother told her that she was gonna have this baby, and then they took it away from her. And I feel like Mercedes probably feels, I don't know, I don't want to say not worthy, but in a way, like, I feel like she's just now getting to the point where she understands that she is capable and the best place for her daughter to be. Like, I think she didn't think she was the best place for her daughter to be, but hell, now looking at how Sheldon turned out in the situation that her daughter has found herself in, she should have, could have been with you the whole time. Because this lady over here didn't do no better. You still in a position where you got to help this child, through this situation. So Clifford is back at his house. He's in the shower. Ooh, sorry. That's, that's gonna take some practice. I ain't gonna lie. Clifford is in the shower, breaking down because the reality of what may happen has hit her. And I know that feeling, and it's not a good one. So she had to release those tears, release that energy, and, get it out of her system, because her granny is, that's her last family member that we know of, because her mother is already dead. We don't know who her daddy is. If he around, we don't know. She comes out of the shower, and little Murder got on like a boa and some sparkly pants, and giving his best impersonation of Cisco. Dumps in the truck, truck. Let me see that. Dun, 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 dun. So they have a moment where, Murder they kind of offering the same comfort and energy to each other. When Murder needed Clifford, she was there to, take that weight off his shoulders. And then now this, Murder knows like what Granny means to Clifford. So in this moment, Murder is kind of allowing Clifford to lean on him and, release some of that energy that she needs to release. And boy, did they release it. And they was over there having unprotected sex. So y'all was well, we know Murder was careful with Teak, so Clifford, but y'all, anyway, they got it in. And it was what it is. And now we gonna see if y'all can really withstand. Y'all done got past the y'all done got past the big sex. Well, no, they haven't. They have before. They have before. I forgot. But I mean, it was in the car or something. Like it was different. Last time they were, in the car being nasty behind the club. This time it was something very much loaded with emotions that both Murder and Clifford are dealing with. So they done fell into a different space, I think, when in terms of like crossing the line and having sex with somebody. It was not the same sex that they had down to the pink in the car. So Autumn comes to visit Keyshawn. And surprisingly, Derek gives them a minute to visit. That's, beyond shocking. So Autumn goes into this long, drawn out story about some abusive man that she was dealing with probably, what's his name? Cleophas? His name Cleophas. I can't, Octavius. Probably Octavius. She's telling her the story of Octavius in her very haunting Autumn voice. And it was a rainy night. And, painting this picture, down in the bayou when, I cried so many tears. It was, basically letting her know that there's more than one way to get rid of an abusive situation. So she gives her this gift. She came in the house talking about, I got a gift for the baby. So she gives to her a burner phone. And she said her real name, because back in, like episode 1 or 2, I think it was episode 1 when the cops asked what was Autumn's real name, she was like, a stripper don't tell you what their real name is. Well, she said call Haley. So I don't know if she knew her real name before, but she know her real name now. And if you when you need me, because I know you will, call me and I'm gonna come help you. So that's how this episode ended. Should be interesting to see where we go from here. All I know is I want Keyshawn the hell out of that situation. If I had to roll down there to Chuckalisa and take out Derek, my daggone self, that's how I'm feeling. I am so tired of him. But y'all, let's go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and we'll get into the next episode when we get into the next episode. Bye, y'all.